Hey, it's Mack with PriceActionTradingSystem.com, and it is Tuesday. It's January 10th. This will be our chart listing for the day, and it really was not a lot of trades today. Pretty quiet day. The volume still continues to be a little low. We actually from about 9 o'clock, a little before 9 o'clock, till right till the lunch hour, and even actually coming back down till about 1 o'clock. We had a pretty good some pretty good moves. Then it kind of went flat again into the 2 o'clock hour. So, but in the end, this was a range until we broke out here about 10 o'clock, and and then you basically look for a measured move up. I mean, hopefully it was pretty clear why you see this is a range right across here. There's clear resistance, clear support, and once we broke higher, you get a measured move up. And you can see that's right in there. We actually went above that, but notice how that still plays support and resistance. And then prices turn. So we had a little overshoot of it, but you have your trend lines to help you past that point. So, but I didn't really like entering anything but short up here, to be honest with you. We'll talk about that when we get to it. But yeah, not a lot of trades today. There were a couple of nice ones with some runners. You would have caught a runner if you entered here or here, and you could have caught a good bit of this. You'd have got a runner off either one of these, and as well. So the few trades there were some pretty nice moves. This one even had a pretty nice move right here. So somebody actually sent me an email and asked what happened here. There wasn't any news or anything at that point. There was some news that came out around 9 that might have contributed to this rally, but there wasn't anything that really just came out and made the market pop today. This looks more like a trap here. Notice we're working down, and it looks like we found the bottom, and we start going higher, and then suddenly it just reverses. Um, Prices were headed down to this low to test it, and they got there. Made a perfect double bottom, basically. Could be just that they trapped some people here, or it could be that there was just a big sell order that came in around this time. Um, so it's really hard to say, but I just think this is where we were headed, down to test these lows, and they trapped a few people here and ran it on down real quick, and you can see they all had to exit right here. So maybe a bunch of bottom pickers were coming in here. I don't know. It doesn't really matter. It's there, but somebody did ask me that, so I thought I'd comment on it. But yeah, let's talk about the trades. When I came in, back out just a little more. Prices had worked up, and we were just kind of working sideways. Notice how we're making lower highs all the way down here, and lower lows on each of these bars. It does kind of get a sideways feel by here. This is basically a double top. Even though we went a little higher, this is still a double top, and it's in line with this right here as well. So um, when it tried to go higher here, the reason I like this one, it is aggressive. It broke higher and then turned and went down, and it's following that line on those closes right there. Even that last bar closed inside there in the end, right at the line. So you might have taken this one when it broke higher and turned and went out the other side. You might have been interested in entering there, because we do have a break of this trend line and a new high, and we are working lower now. So but it does move down, pulls back, and now it gives you your failed second entry long and another nice bearish bar right off that trend line. Notice that is a little short-term trend working up, and there's no break of it yet. This is a range day, and this trend line is the more important one, and that closes. I wouldn't have entered below this bar because it's too neutral, but if you look at that at the hard right side of the chart, that is a failed second entry long. If it breaks below that bar, uh, notice that it's right inside that trend line. We're probably going lower. So with it working down like that, I like that one. It is a failed. There is two legs down. There's one move, a correction, and another move. It's pretty much two measured legs. So when that turns up and fails, there's a good chance we're probably going to continue lower, and of course we do. And you do end up getting a close outside there. Like I said, I wouldn't go short below that bar, but when you looked at it, the hard right, that was very bearish reversal type bar right on the trend line. So I like that one. Um, but you do end up getting a close outside after you would have already been in this trade. It turns out where it works out before it goes higher, but then it runs up and it does make your new high. Imagine that. But look how bearish that bar is after that new high. So I like that one. And again, you're just testing this kind of previous support, or yeah, this was previous support, and we're just testing that again after we broke through a second time. And of course, now it runs straight down and tests that low, and then it bounces. But you do have a close outside and two legs down here. A nice reversal bar, a little ways away from the EMA. So you might consider that one. You're always better off to wait on a higher low, which comes right here, but you don't really get a very good setup there. So um, I would have maybe taken this one, but definitely not this one. And then notice what happens. You move up, you get a first entry, pull back, then you get a second entry short. It fails right off that trend line again, right off those closes. That's a second entry long, counting from the high, failed second entry short. That's your reversal you're looking for. And you're looking for prices now to come back up here. And where do they go? They go right to that point. Again, this is why I like to wait on a lower high before I get short off these highs, because first it looks like it's going lower and it moves up higher, and then it looks like it's going lower and it moves up, and then it looks like it's going lower and it just keeps going. And this is a double bottom, so you can count this as a new low. Somebody asked me about that today. When do you count? I always count it as a new low or a new high. Doesn't mean you're going to enter a trade because of it, but you always count it. I mean, I count it both ways. So it's a failed second entry short, but it's also a double bottom right there, so it's a new low. So that's a new low. First entry, second entry, it fails. There's a failed second entry short. The only reason I don't, and it's right off that trend line, if you'd drawn it off those first two bars there, the only reason I don't like going long there is because it's right into the high of that trading range. And that's the biggest pattern. That's the main pattern on the chart at this point. So you don't want to be going long there. You need to wait on something better. So you actually pulls back and tests it again, and tests that trend line again, and gives you a bullish bar. So I like going long now. And the only reason I didn't like that was because it's right into that resistance. It does pull back off that trend line again. But notice how long we've been away from the EMA now. Even though this one and this one worked, I don't think you want to risk them being that far away from the EMA, that close to the high of the day. If you're paying attention, you probably know this is our target. So you might consider this one. I still made it aggressive, but and even this one, you could still argue the same thing if you've got room to get out, but you don't really have room to get out going long above that one. Of course, that's just two ticks right there. But that's too bearish, so I don't think you want to take anything else here. You do get a breakout pullback long here, but again, we've already overshot, so you're better off looking for a short here as soon as you get a setup and you finally get a lower high right here. This one is real close to being red. You could argue for it to be red. It's a lower high. It's a real small bar, so real low risk, entry risk, two ticks, but it's not a convincing lower low. It is a double top, and that still counts for something. Notice that it looks like it's an overshoot of the channel as well, which it is. So that's another reason. But you're better off to wait on your failed second entry short, which with counting that as a new high, it comes right here. But look how flat we are. You're right into that support resistance. You need to wait till we get below it and come back and test it. And it does that right here. And you can count this as a double top once again. There's your first entry, your second entry. So you can treat that like a failed second entry long. It's a pullback to retest. It's a trap. Big bearish bar. Just go short there. So there's two examples for the person that asked me that question today of me counting it both ways. And, you know, what's the rule? Well, the rule is you count it both ways. Doesn't mean you're going to take a trade every time, because you still use all the other rules. Is it a key entry point? Is it a trap? Is there a reason to enter here? Those kind of things. So it's, you know, You got to weigh all your options and look at the big picture. Um, there's some concern here with this trend line. Going short right into that too, because you may bounce. And you actually could look at this as the second entry long right here, but you got to be paying attention to this uh, trading range and the fact that you can see that coming into play there. And so you don't want to be going short right into that, especially when you got all that lined up there. And I don't think I'd want to go back long right into it either. And you see why, because you would have got trapped. If you did go long there, just reverse, because there's your failed second entry long, and now you want to go short. And if you caught either one of those trades, that's all you needed today. Uh, if you caught this one or this one, you had a nice run. So then we run all the way down. I kind of like this one just because we're so far away from the EMA. If you brought your trend line down to the next swing, it matches up there. But you don't really have any evidence. It never really gets confirmed because we reverse. So there's not enough to give this one a red. Plus, here's something else. Notice how we shot back through the previous support resistance. The odds are you'll pull back and test it again. So generally you want to wait on the higher low, which would have been this trade, which that one might have been blue. But you're right, you're so close to this, you don't have room to scalp out, so I'm afraid of it. Notice I did find resistance there, but it ended up pushing through and would have worked, but you don't know that ahead of time. So it's a little bit risky, even though you know prices are probably coming back to the EMA and that trend line and probably coming back to test this. You may not get there. So then you get a failed second entry short. Notice that's a new low. First entry, second entry. There's actually a second entry short to the downside that looks really nice there, but notice I didn't mark it either. But that's because that bar is too neutral. It's not negative. It's not bearish enough. And then you got this trend line, which is a little bigger here. So there's probably a good chance we're going to pull back. I just wouldn't go short there. You might have considered going short right here, but notice it doesn't break below it. You get a higher low, and then you're back above the support resistance line, so you're going short right into that. So there's many different reasons to just skip that, especially that late in the day. Even though this one probably would have worked, and all of these would have worked to the long side, you know, they're still risky. So you got to remember that. And even though this is a reversal type pattern with the failed second entry short, you still got the bigger pattern of the trend line working down that we could just turn right back up and touch and then turn down again, and you may not get out. So that's another reason that that one's not blue, it's only green. And really that one's even borderline being green. I went back and forth whether to put it on there, but I figured somebody would ask about it. So there it is. But it's really, really borderline. These two, they're real close. This one, it's a stretch for that one. So, but anyway, that was what I saw today. Not much else. Just not much of a day. Like I said, a couple of these trades that set up were really nice trades. But there just wasn't a lot going on today. So this was the best trend up. Well, this was still a pretty nice trend down. So, but you didn't get much chance to get in it except right here or right here. And this one's a little aggressive. And this one you got to really be paying attention to what's going on. So, but yeah, I'm going to wrap it up. We'll be back again to do it tomorrow. But I'm out of here for now. This is Mack with PriceActionTradingSystem.com, and we'll see you next time.